Hello, everybody. Welcome to the studio this evening, where we're going to be painting that guy over there. A beautiful blue and gold macaw. And, Mere Monk Myth over on Twitch is new here. Watched the goat video last week, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I didn't think I wasn't here last week. Welcome to you, Dwayne. I know you're here on YouTube. Welcome to you. I am ready to get started with this. Dory's not working with me. Dory, you get over there. So I am ready to go. Let's talk about what our supplies are. Using a sheet of Baohang watercolor paper, 140 pound, cold pressed paper. It's got a slight texture to it. I don't know. I don't think I can hold it up and get you to see the texture at the moment. On my right hand side over here are all of my M-gram paints. Let me... somewhere I've got those. Let me put those up there. Oh, right. Dory is keeping those, keeping that in line for us. There's my paints. Those are the colors that I use. It just goes around this way. Anybody who wants to ask a question about my paints, please feel free. I am happy to talk about my paints, which are completely out of frame at the moment. Looks like I must have bumped my... that's close enough. I must have bumped my camera again. For the most part, I will be using my King Art brushes, except for at the beginning when I'm going to be trying to paint a background. Here, where is it at? King Art. There it is, King Art. And I want to have a bit of a larger brush. We can cover more of an area at one point in time. We are restreaming back and forth between YouTube and Twitch. The chat should come up here where my colors are. Yes, that's maybe not the best thing in the world, but we'll figure that out. I'm going to get going with this, and I'm going to start this in a more traditional way, in that I'm going to paint a bit of a background on it. I don't always paint a bit of a background on anything, but I need to mix up a little bit of green in order to do that. So for me, that starts with cobalt green, and then I'm going to mix in a little bit of this gamboge, and that's going to give me a beautiful warm green color. I don't know if it's a tropical green color, but we'll figure that out as we go. A nice soupy mixture, and I want to get this color on there pretty quickly. And over on Twitch, Mere Mono Myth. I'm sorry if I got your name wrong before. I'm terrible with names. I apologize. If you have any questions, throw them out there. I love answering questions. I like the interaction. That's why I do this. If I didn't like the interaction, I would just kind of do this myself, sit in my studio, listen to a podcast. Miri, if you have any questions about anything, and that can be pretty much anything. It can be about me, my art, my philosophy of art, anything about paint, paper, or brushes. It can be about different artists, contemporary or not, right? I'm usually pretty willing to talk about anything. Dwayne says, has it cooled off out there yet? Actually, you know what? It's quite lovely in the studio this evening. We had that week where it was blazing hot, and I got in the car after work today. So I work inland about 13 miles. Well, it's 13 miles from where I parked to where my driveway is. And when I got in the car this morning, here at home, it was 54, which is great. Fantastic temperature. Never needs to go any warmer than that, in my opinion. And when I got in the car at work this afternoon, it was 82. Here at the house right now, it's probably in the mid 60s. completely fantastic. So we had 3 or 4 really hot days where it was unbearable. I didn't want to do anything. It was too hot to even think. And hopefully we're done with that. That's our summer, and we don't have to ever do that again. Dwayne says it's cooled off, or it's very hot there in Alabama. Yeah, you guys are warm. You guys have a lot of really warm summers, extending into the fall. It's warm in the South. Now, I am a little bit luckier in that where I'm at right now is about 3/4 of a mile from the Pacific Ocean. It's beautiful. Might be a little humid at the moment. This week, we started to get some of our lovely fog back in the summer. Typically, this is a pretty foggy little town. As it gets warmer inland, it pulls the cold water in off of the Pacific Ocean. It cools everything down here, and we get a nice big thick layer of fog. Oh, if you go inland, it'll burn off by 10 or so, but here on the coast, it stays around until 2 most days, or somewhere around there, until afternoon anyways, and then it goes away, and it'll start coming back. It'll start rolling back in now-ish. Of course, that all depends upon how hot it really is inland. The hotter it gets inland, the more fog we get here, until it reaches, interestingly, until it reaches a certain point, and then it's too warm inland, and it will just burn all of our fog off, and we get nothing. Okay, I'm done with my background. Done, totally done. I don't think I want to touch it anymore. Miri, you're new here. I hate backgrounds. I hate doing backgrounds, but sometimes you do need a background. It helps bring everything else forward that little bit. I don't want this guy kind of sitting on a branch in front of a white wall, so I'm going to give him something. Mary says, I miss California weather. Lived there for 10 years. You miss it so much. It's fantastic. You can come on back. There's plenty of room in California. It's a big state. We'd love to have you back. Whoa, Dory, where'd you go? There you go. Now we've reached the time where I have to do a little song and dance, a little soft shoe or something to waste a little time until this dries, and I don't want to touch it a little bit. So let's talk about what we're going to do. And let me get something I can point with. Here we go. This is going to be apropos. We're painting a blue bird here today. I've got 3 or 4 different areas that we're going to focus on the bird, right? The branch is going to be the branch, right? The branch is branch color and branch things and branchiness. We've got the beak here, which is going to be nice and dark, not necessarily black, but nice and dark. And that extends down underneath his, I guess we'll call his chin under here also. We've got this beautiful pop of yellow out here. I think this is going to be a wonderful gamboge. We might put a little bit of cold yellow in here too. It's a beautiful warm yellow. I don't know. We're gonna have to see how this plays out. But this is a beautiful pop of color here, right? So we got 1, we've got 2. Of course, his face and his cheek here is white. We can't just leave that white as it is. We've got to get a little contouring on there. Typically, that's going to be done with some neutral tint, maybe a little bit of blue for some shadowing, something like that in here. And then for the rest of it, he's got this beautiful blue most of the way along his body here. And what I'm hoping to do is to put on a light layer and then drop in some darker colors here. And I have, and I think you all can see it, I have drawn in some feathers, right? But I have been known not to really pay attention to any of the stuff that I have drawn on here, especially when it comes to feathers. So if we can drop in a few darker colors, maybe we can use those as the basis of our feathers, right? I don't typically use, or I don't want to use the dark as the feather color. I want to use the dark for like the under feather. I don't even know if under feather is a word. Sounds like it should be, but the underneath, and let the light around that dark come out. I don't know. I already think I'm getting in too deep now. I'm getting in too deep. You're all going, I have no idea what you're talking about. But where there's a feather on top, these flight feathers here are going to be much, probably should be lighter than the tail feathers down here and these under feathers there. But we're gonna see what we can do. We're not quite dry yet. I have to keep babbling on for a little bit longer. I hope everybody is having a good week. I should say, next week, I'm not entirely certain I'm going to be painting here on a Wednesday. I'm taking a vacation week, and the family and I are going to try to get away and do some fun stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In that the rest of life gets around everything, and we don't typically take big long trips because we've got a lot of animals living here on the homestead. So we do a day trip or a couple of day trips. We've got a lot of things that we're talking about and kicking around, but we'll see how that goes. All right, I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush. This is a size number 4, and I'm going to mix up a little bit of my neutral tint. Where's my neutral tint? Right here. Actually, let's put it over here. This neutral tint, we'll put it on this side. I want to make sure it's nice and light. I don't want a lot of heavy colors here. But I want to start looking at his face here. And let me bring this up so you guys can see a little bigger image of what I'm talking about. There you go. There's no need to look at my face. You can look at this bird's face a little bit. And let's do this. I think I can even zoom in on that. If you give me a second here. Whoop. Everybody can see what I'm talking about. So if you look at that face, your eye automatically picks up that there's some contouring in there. Yes, we have some black lines, but the black lines don't necessarily do all of the contouring. There are some lighter areas, there are some darker areas. We need to define what those are going to be, and I want to tell everybody's brain, or everybody, yes, I want to tell everybody's eye, which is going to inform everybody's brain of what those areas are. Can I shrink that back down again? Oh, I can. Look at that. There you go. So in order to do that, we have to force a little bit of color on our page. I get back to the right one. I've been gone for this for a week, and I feel like I don't know my controls anymore. They've all abandoned me. So maybe I should do it this way. You all know, typically I like to paint wet on dry. Maybe this is a better application for a little wet on wet, and we can control this a little bit, especially knowing that the M-gram neutral tint likes to stain and leave a tide line. And I don't want a tide line on this guy's face, right? That would look like he's got like a face tattoo or something. And we don't want that. He doesn't need that. Or she, I guess, could be a girl bird. Does anybody know how to tell the difference between girl and boy macaws? I don't. There must be some difference. I don't have any idea. Maybe there isn't. Okay, I've got the face damp there, so let's get a little bit of this color, and I'm going to drop this in a couple of places, and it's going to be light. I realize it's going to be light. It's going to be hard to see for a minute or two. I'm going to pick this up and show you what I'm doing, but I just want to drop a little bit of color here and there. Maybe we'll get a little bit in there, a little bit of color. Come on, Michael, a little bit of color in this face. And remember, this is going to lighten about 30%, maybe 40%. So it's gonna lighten a good amount. So I shouldn't be too afraid to put it on a little heavy, but for some reason I am. I've been burned by it a little bit. Gotten it on there too much too quickly in the past. And I just want to get a little bit of color on there. A little bit of color, right? So we can start to add a little bit of dimensionality, a little bit of contouring to his face. Cool. And this is a great stage to look at it and go, if that's exactly what I want, awesome. If it's not, that's fine too. Doesn't matter. Because we have the opportunity to come back and do a little bit more if we want. If we don't want, then that's fine. If we get it exactly right on the first try, that's okay. I'm just looking at it and going, you know what? Let's be a little braver. Let's be a little bolder while I'm doing this. All right, cool. I like that. I like where we've got it there. In fact, I can look up on my screen up here and see that we've made quite an impression on this. Oh, you know what? I want to do a little bit around his nostril there. Just give me a little bit of this color right around his nostril. That's probably fine. It's probably good. Okay, cool. And I'm gonna let that dry for a second because that, of course, I started off in maybe the worst possible spot. That touches everything, right? That touches our beak, that touches the blue, touches the yellow, touches the black. Oh, I can come down and do a branch down here. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Let me grab a little larger brush, and I'm going to make some branch or twig color. In this instance, you can see it's fairly brown, so I can do this in a nice brown. I'm going to use burnt umber because I like burnt umber as a base. So we're going to mix a little bit of gray in with that. Payne's gray. We'll probably end up mixing some blue in with this, but we're just going to do this as a grayish, brownish branch. And while I'm doing this, Miri, I'm going to ask do you paint watercolors? And if you do, what kinds of stuff do you typically paint? I'm curious. I want to know. We're still not certain if I paint watercolors or if I just kind of mess around a little bit. Some days it seems like I do paint. Other days it seems like I'm just kind of filling up time, but maybe that's just how watercolors work. They can, from time to time, be quite frustrating. They can be quite frustrating. All right, I've got I've got a claw down here. I've got a leg. I've got a feather that I'm just trying to paint around a little bit. Give me some of this blue. Give me a little bit of blue in here. Let's tone that down. Some gray it down with some blue in there. Let's pull some gray out. I try very hard, and you all have seen, and if you haven't, it's my fault. I try very hard to not do anything with the same color for too much. Mixing colors, even if it's very slightly, helps to make a much more dynamic painting. I just started, actually. I've been doing it for a week. Very good. Found some free tutorials online and currently working on learning to paint bamboo. Okay, cool. Bamboo. Bamboo's fun. I don't know that I've painted bamboo in a long time. I remember bamboo being kind of fun to paint. Well, that's fantastic. First of all, good luck with it. If you have any questions, don't take anything I say, don't take anything I say as anything more than just a mere suggestion, right? And I should say that for most watercolor artists. Don't take anything watercolor artists say as anything more than a suggestion on how to do something. We all do things differently, and like anything else, there's a million different ways to do it. So the way one person does it might work for you. It might not work for you. I would suggest, listen to what people say or watch videos, take tutorials, take all of it kind of with a grain of salt, right? If there's somebody that you really look up to and you think they paint in a better style, maybe lend them a little bit more credence than other people. But the real thing to it is you've got to match whatever style you paint in with the way you think, the way your brain thinks a painting should look, right? And that's not always a straightforward thing. Sometimes the way our brain wants us to paint isn't the way our hands want to paint. And as a result, we struggle sometimes. I'm only saying this from personal experience. And like I said, you can take any of this as advice, or you can throw any of it out. It's not going to hurt my feelings either way. But I watched a lot of videos online. I tried to duplicate the way a lot of other people did things, and I was very frustrated. And looking back through many of my paintings, I found that the ones that I thought were the best and the ones that I came back to and painted in that style again were ones that I had just kind of let myself be a little freer and exploratory, and my brain pictures things a certain way and I paint that way. And you'll find out that you probably do that too. So I would love if you went, oh, that's cool, I love how you do this, I'm going to try to do that. But in reality, you should be trying to figure it out on your own. You really appreciate how I explain what I'm doing. Okay, cool. I'm going to try to continue and to do that. Sometimes I do. And sometimes I get a little lost in the details. So if ever you have a question about anything, just ask. I'm happy to stop and help. All right, and I'm about done with this part of the branch now. I don't know. I think I've done enough over here, but it's got some interest to it. That little bit of branch now. It's not brown. It's not gray. It's got some blues. It's got some greens in there. It's got some interest in it. I'm probably going to leave that the way it is. And then I'm going to come and work on this half. Right? That looks like a living kind of a branch there. We did that in no time at all. If only I could remember what colors I was using over here. Oh, I had some Payne's Gray mixed in here. Payne's Gray, burnt umber. Yeah, we'll get this side done up. Similarly, trying very hard to stay within the lines. Something else I don't do very well is stay between the lines. Also, something I'm not sure is all that important, but I try to do it anyways. Now, the big deal here is if you ask my mother, she will tell you I really am very good at painting trees and branches and stuff like that. So, Mom, when you watch this back, pay attention to this part. Or stories about cats. Oh wait, do I have stories about cats? I have stories about cats. I do have some stories about cats. Not that many. I've got 2 cats now. 2. Cowboy and Shadow. And Cowboy is about 3 times the size of Shadow. Shadow's a tiny old lady cat. But she's still kicking and hanging in there. Doing good. Shadow Cat has the worst habit of laying down next to me and whacking me with her tail all the time. Not sometimes, all the time. I don't think she could lay next to me in any way, shape, or form and not whack me with her tail. It's not built into her DNA to be able to do that. And it frustrates me to no end. It would really frustrate me a lot if she wasn't so cute and such a nice cat. Okay, let's see. I need a little bit more of this brown down here. This has got a little blue over here. And if I put a little brown down here, it should gray it down a little bit over here too. So like I said, Mary, don't be afraid to ask any questions about watercolors. If you want me to just throw some stuff out there from when I was starting out, I'm happy to do that too. But if you would like, I'm totally happy to answer some more directed questions that you have. And other people here, I don't know who's here right now, but other people are here. I know Dwayne is a watercolor painter. There'll be some other people hopping on and off who paint watercolors. We all will hop in and answer questions for you. I love passing down any knowledge I have about watercolors, right? It's one of the great things about, I don't know, learning, call it a craft, call it a skill, call it an art, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of one of the cool things about learning something like that is passing it down and finding, maybe not necessarily the next generation, but the next person who's going to appreciate it and enjoy learning from what you have done and putting that into practice. There we go. I think that's a nice branch. I think that's going to work for us. Okay, cool. And now, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Wait a minute. No, that's Rocket J Squirrel. Oh, that's Bullwinkle Moose. Now that I have gotten this area wet and the face should be dry by now, I can come up and I'm going to start working on his beak. And this is an easy one. Some animals have a hard time deciding what's a beak and what's a bill. I think with this one, I'm good calling this a beak. But I want to look at this and understand what I want to get out of this. That's something that if you just look at that picture right there in passing, let me pull it up again so you can see it. And then let me see, I'll blow it up again here. There we go. So you look at that, you look at his beak and it's black, right? Your brain says it's black. Cool. In watercolor painting, you can't paint something black. I mean, you can, but black is such a flat color. It's hard to bring life and vitality into something that's black. So we need to do something else than just paint it black. Let me put you back up there. Well, we'll put you back up kind of like that. So I'm going to do this in a couple of layers. And I'm just going to start with a layer of regular Payne's Gray. It's a little on the blue side, and I don't really want this to be a blue beak, but I think it's going to be good. If there's any blue that's reflected from that, we can just say it's reflected light from the body of this bird. No questions yet, but I'm starting off using pan paints. Those are cool. And it's frustrating. I wish I had purchased the paints in tubes, but was too intimidated. No, look. I'll tell you what you do. Because pan paints are the same as tube paints. They're just not wet. So what you can do is just get them wet. Get an eyedropper. If you have an eyedropper. Do I have any paints up here? Hang on one second. Pan. There you go. So what you can do is, before you start to work, is you can get into some clean water and you can just go like this. Look, drop of water, drop of water, drop of water. Oops, you can't see what I'm doing. drop of water. You still can't see. Let me pull my water down here. There we go. Got a big old jug of water, right? Drop of water on there, drop of water, drop of water. The bigger the brush, the thicker the brush, the bigger the drop of water you can get. All right, big drop of water on there, big drop, right? And just start putting water on all of these. And what that's going to do is it's going to loosen them. It's going to loosen all these colors up. There we go. I got some good water on most of these now. I hope you can see some of that. And do I have an old sheet of paper here? I do. So now when you go to use them, cool. They're already wet. So you can just go like this and you're going to get a huge vibrant color right out of it. Right? Let's go into this orangey color. It's already wet. You put it on there, look, it's going to come out super thick. So that's one trick. Here's a green that looks like a viridian or a phthalo green. Yeah, it looks like a phthalo green. That's one trick you can use if you're using pan paints and you and you start to use them and you're like, oh, it takes so long to get them wet. Yeah, just pre-wet them before you start using them. It's all good. It's all good. And I always thought a lot of people buy to start like a Winsor Newton or Grombacher paints. Grombacher makes a lot of student grade paints people buy. It may not be quite as true now because there are so many other paints that people buy and they wet so quickly. But if you buy any of the British paints, excuse me, they don't wet very well. And I think I figured out why. I think it's on purpose. Because the traditional way that you're going to start your painting is with the sky in the background, and you're going to work more forward from there. And each layer you put on is going to get a little bit thicker and a little bit darker. And I think, this is my theory, and I could be completely off, and it wouldn't surprise me if I'm wrong. I'm wrong a lot. Is that the paints were designed to do that so that the first layer or two that you put on had to be very light. You couldn't put it on dark because as soon as you start putting on dark, your painting starts to get darker. So they start out with a lighter paint and go from there. But like I said, I could totally be off base on that. It just seemed like a reasonable thing. And I never understood why the British paints were always so hard and took so long to wet until I watched videos of British painters paint, and they always talk about how you need to start off so light and go from there. And I went, oh, I wonder if they do it that way because they've all been taught that way because that's how the original inventors of those paints did it. But I don't have any proof of that. It's just a pet theory of mine. Okay, got quite a bit of color on here, especially for this little tiny area. I'm just going to push this around. And as long as I work fairly quickly, it's not going to dry up, not in this little spot here anyways. We got plenty of time to move paint. Cool. There we go. There's a beautiful beak. I would say done to perfection, but I know the guy who's painting it. Let's just say it's done for the first layer, not anything after that. Actually, you know what? Let's see if we can do a little bit here. Let me get a little bit of the sepia. I love sepia. Sepia and neutral tint. I'll put those together. It is just going to make a neutral dark. And let me just drop a little bit of that color down here. Just a little bit of that color. And I don't want to do any more than that because that whole area is wet. And I don't really want it to run too much, but I want that to be there. We can start getting the contouring set on there. Okay, now, okay, cool. Got a couple of other things we can do. I'm gonna go in with a very light mixture. This is a cold yellow. This is probably a little colder than I want it to be. For me, this is Hansa yellow. Ooh, this is way cold. And I'm gonna start putting on some yellow, and I'm trying to follow a little bit of tradition here. I gotta mix some of this gamboge in there. That's too, ooh, that's better. I'm gonna try to follow a little bit of the proper, I'm gonna use that in quote, the proper way to do this by painting my lighter colors first, and then we'll come back and we'll we'll do some darker colors. But if we use yellow and we go into the blue area, well, so what? We can paint blue over top of that. But if we were to paint blue first and then we paint it outside the lines or something, might be a little much. We'd struggle a little bit. Okay, and this can come right on around. Actually, I like some of the color that this has gotten. I very much like that. Give me a little bit more of that gamboge. The gamboge, in my opinion, is such a lovely color. It's a beautiful orangey yellow. It is a little bit fugitive, or has the reputation for being a bit fugitive, but I still think it's lovely, and I've never had too much trouble with it. It's a beautiful color. Let's go with that. Leave it a little bit lighter on the inside of this area, right? A little bit lighter right on the inside there, but a little darker, orangier around the outside a little bit. In fact, can we put even a tiny bit? I shudder to put any of this azo orange on here that I have, because that azo orange is, ooh, it's really a bit opaque or semi-transparent, but it might really help set that whole area off a little bit. Cool. Okay. So we're getting there. We've got some good things going on. I like our branch down here. Maybe not that spot, but just skip over that. What do I mean by fugitive? Fugitive is a term in watercolors where the color doesn't stay the color, right? So this gamboge will lose its color over time, and there are several fugitive colors in watercolor. Some reds can be quite fugitive, yellows can be fugitive, not so much in the blues or the greens. Typically, if you put it in the sun, you will see the colors change. It can happen in as short as, I don't know, a week or so. Sometimes it might take a year. The opposite of fugitive is color fastness. So you'll see some ratings on here. I happen to have, because I'm a M-Gram fanboy, the color selection, or some of the color selection for the M-Gram colors, right? And we have a light fastness rating here, right? And it goes 1, 2, and 3, excellent, very good, or acceptable. If there were a 4, you could just call that fugitive. Probably would be how they would assign that. And it's just a matter of, it's just a way to denote the amount that when you put the color on the page, the color is going to stay that way on the page for eternity, basically, for the entire time you're ever going to use your paints. What you see is what you get. Okay. Is my beak done? Okay, my beak is done. I'm going to put a little darker layer in here. So I want to, as I'm layering up my beak here, I'm going to take a little bit of this black. This is lamp black that I have in my corner here. It's not really thick, but I've drawn this in my reference photo. There has his tongue in here a little bit. I don't want to paint his tongue. I just want to paint everything that's not his beak, right? So if I can start to define what that black is in here, what that dark area is in there, then I know what I need to do on the rest of his beak to make it come to life. That's the theory. That's what I'm going with. Let's just give it a try. All right, cool. And already with just that little bit of dark color down here, right? Well, you can already start to see that lower beak, the lower half of that beak has gotten some interest to it and start to get some dimensionality to it. Okay, so now we've come to the point in time where, as long as that's dry enough, it'll be dry enough soon enough, where we need to tackle the body of this bird. And I'm going to attempt to tackle this all in one shot. And hopefully that's not a big deal. I'm going to go back to my Casaneo brushes because they're bigger and they hold a lot of water, not because of anything else. And hopefully I can get these to come to a nice point when I come up here. And I'm going to put a little bit of my green on his crown up here. We'll take it probably past his eye, and then we're going to go blue the rest of the way down. Quite honestly, I don't care what color blue is. I'm going to get a lot of this cobalt blue in there. I want some of this teal blue in there. We might put some phthalo blue in there. Maybe some of the cerulean, although the cerulean is, again, a little bit opaque. Yeah, I'm not sold on the cerulean. Just want to make sure that yellow is dry enough. It probably is. Let's get started and see what we can do, what kind of damage we can do here. And just trying hard to mostly stay within the lines. If there's a spot where I don't stay within the lines, I'm just going to claim that that's a feather that's sticking out where it shouldn't be. Certainly not anything I would have done to cause a bad painting. It's clearly the bird's fault, not mine. Yeah, okay, it's mine. That's fine. All right, and then right into some of this beautiful blue color. Well, let's transition. This is still wet, so we should be able to make a beautiful transition between the two. Whoops, I did dip into the cerulean there. That's okay. And I'm not trying to do anything more than put a first coat on here and get my color on where I want it more than what I want it to end up looking like. I don't care about the ending at this point in time. I'm worried about the beginning. I want to get the color on here and make sure it's in the spots where we want it. Cool. I just love that blue against that yellow. That looks so good. All right. And now we can move a little bit more quickly now. Like I said, if we get a darker spot in here, I'm not going to sweat it. That will become an enhancement to our painting. If we get a little lighter spot, that's okay too. Let's get a nice mixture of these blues in here. Cool, let's not try to paint over a foot or anything. That might be important too. The only thing I have to do is make sure I'm doing this quick enough to stave off a wet edge somewhere. And I certainly don't want a wet edge. I want some of this beautiful turquoise in here. There, oh, that's nice. And I want it to stay relatively light. Beautiful, beautiful colors. I want it to stay relatively light so we can come over it and put on any kind of detail that we want to in a couple of minutes. Let's just get this top coat on. And Miri, this may not be the way everybody paints, and that's okay. May not be the way anybody else paints, and that's okay. I've done this long enough to know that there's plenty of room for everybody's style and the way they do things. Mine is just one different way. It's a little bit more conventional probably in some ways and a little less conventional in some other ways. Oh, what do I want to do? All right, I think I'm going to stop with that. We've got some nice blue on here. Got to clean this brush off very well. I love the look of his face already here. We're going to give him a nice eye. We'll give him a nose and those black stripes up there. That's going to turn out and look fantastic. We'll work on our edging here, where the yellow and the blue come together. That's going to be great. I already like our transition here between that green and the blue. It looks nice. We'll have to darken around the edge of that and blend it out. That's cool. That's fine. But we've got this big area that we now need to let dry a little bit. And I've got a little work to do here so I don't get a tide line. I don't want a tide line. There we go. Okay. So we're going to come back and we're going to work on his beak up here. Let's see. I had a little bit of this sepia and a little bit of this neutral tint. And let me make a little puddle of Payne's Gray here too. YouTube, not too many questions tonight either. Everybody's a little quiet. It's okay. It's okay. Just everybody's got to realize if you're all quiet, that means you got to listen to me talk. So if you're all right with that, I'm okay with it. I've usually got plenty to say. You can ask all the people I work with. I've usually got plenty to say. Most of them would probably ask that I not say quite as much. I keep my mouth a little quiet. That might not be true. That might not be true. And there we go. That looks like a good start on the lower beak there. Are you saying tide line? I am tide line, just like the line in the sand where the tide comes up. Do I have a tide line down there? I don't want to put a tide line here. I'll show you what I mean by tide line in a second. Let me get through his beak here, and I'm happy to show you what I mean by tide line. because tide lines can either work for you or against you, depending upon what you want to do. They're either going to be your best friend or your worst enemy, or maybe a little bit of both, really. But yes, tide line, tide line. Think of a tide, or think of waves, maybe not a tide, maybe the tide isn't the right thought. Think of waves and how they come up to crash on shore on a beach, right? And where that highest wave comes to on that beach, there's wet sand on one side and dry sand on another side of that line. And that line is what we call in watercolor a tide line. It is exactly that area between I'm just stopping to try to concentrate. It is that area between the wet area and the dry area, and it will, or it can, I guess not necessarily will, but it can cause all kinds of havoc on your paintings, but not necessarily. Okay, cool. I'm going to stop on that beak at the moment, and I think if you look at that, it's actually starting to look pretty good, right? Okay, so what happens with tide lines? Tide lines happen when your paper forces the paper or the atmosphere or whatever forces a different drying rate on your page for your paint. The other way to think about it is you've got one area that has way too much water and one area that doesn't have enough water, right? So I just put this blue on. It's still somewhat wet. You can see it's shiny, right? The other stuff I put on there earlier is dull. That old one is dull. That one is still shiny. There's still a little bit of water in there. But if I put a lot of water on my brush and try to put a different color on there, then I probably have now introduced differing drying rates here. And somewhere in between these two, as it dries, we're going to get a tide line. I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to see if I can force that. Now, people like me really abhor tide lines. I don't like them. I have no use for them. Other people love tide lines. Crazy people, weird people. No, people who paint in a different style than I do really do like tide lines. They'll make them work for them. It's just not something I have tried to do or tried to live with. I very much enjoy not having tide lines. Coco is here. I just discovered this channel and I'm already subscribed. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I have to study. I can't stay, but I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, cool. Yeah, go study. Please. Go study. Yeah, I'll be here for probably another hour. How long am I? Yeah, maybe another hour or 40 minutes at least. Something like that. I'll be here for a while. And if not, I'll be here well, I'll be here at 7 other times. I almost said I'll be here next week when I earlier said I might not be here. Anyways, thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for letting me know. Please go study. Get your studies done. Okay. All right. So I'm trying to force a bit of a darker line around his head here, right? I'm imagining that, ooh, that's pretty good. I'm imagining that just like your brow line, right? Or your brow ridge here, right? Comes into the top of your head. Well, I imagine that his face here is smooth, and then the feathers puff out a little bit. And because they puff out that little bit, well, we need to have a darker edge because that light doesn't come out around there quite so much. If we don't have, oh man, my colors all ran together. If we don't have that, the whole thing's gonna look very flat. And I don't want the whole thing to look very flat. I want the whole thing to look like it's got life and personality and movement to it. And we're gonna get that by manipulating this a little bit. And this is how we're gonna start. Dwayne, you've heard all this before. I don't know if you're still here. Anybody else on YouTube, you guys have all heard this from me before, or anybody who's here who's maybe not new has heard me talk about that before. My love of trying to get dimension on things, getting your paints on there so that they add some contour, or some texture, or some life to what we're painting. More than, for me anyways, more than getting the picture exactly right, is getting that movement or that life in there. And so you can see I didn't do much to that. It took me a minute to paint that, but already it looks like there's a bit more dimension to that. And we'll let that dry, and if we need to, we're going to come back and we're going to put another layer on there. And I'm going to not do anything right around the side here for the moment, but I'm going to do this same thing down here. And with any luck, this is going to make it look like that yellow is standing out on top of the blue that's here. I guess I'm just going to do it like that. And this is going to be the start of, for me, what the really fun part of watercolor painting is. This is where the real fun starts. Right? I mean, the beak, we've already started with some of the fun on the beak. But the getting the basic color on there, everything, anybody can do that. It's not that it's not fun. It's not that it's not exciting. It's just there's more exciting things in watercolor to do than that. Let's see, how did our tide line come here? Maybe we didn't do it quite right. I'm not the biggest fan of tide lines, to tell you the truth. Let's put some more on here now. It's almost like, I don't know, I'm never going to be able to recreate a tide line. When one shows up, I'll show you what a tide line looks like. But I don't want any tide lines. Tide lines can stay away, a long way away. I don't want them. I don't need them. All right, so for me now, what I'm going to do is find the areas on this painting that I want to start highlighting, right? And for me, I'm going to paint everything that's not that, okay? Sounds a bit odd, sounds a bit weird. But whatever I want highlighted, whatever I want to stand out, I want to let it stand out. So I've got a kind of a row of feathers here that I want to stand out. So I'm going to paint what's behind those. And hopefully then that helps them pop off the page a little bit. They don't have to jump off like Batman or something like that. Name your favorite comic book character that jumps. Probably a terrible analogy, but you know, something like that. And this is something that I learned, and it was difficult for me to learn. You don't need a lot of color. You really don't need much color to make something pop off the page, right? This is very light in here, and it's starting to come up, starting to pop out a little bit. Right, we've got these beautiful feathers on the back of this bird. Just want to highlight a few of them. And I'm just putting a line on and blending it out, right? A graded wash. There's another term for you, Miri, a graded wash. That just means a wash that's thicker, heavier at one end, and really light at the other end. There you go, Spider-Man. He jumps off buildings. In fact, let's do that. If you want to see, if you're starting out and you want to learn your craft of watercolor painting, let's not use burnt umber. Let's use this. This is alizarin crimson. So one of the things you will use on every painting is a graded wash, right? Thicker on one side and thinner as you pull it out, right? The more you go, the further out it goes, the thinner it gets. The thinner it gets. It just keeps going. Alizarin crimson is really good because you can pull alizarin crimson out a long, long way. A nice graded wash there from full color to no color on this side. And if you're really good, and I'm gonna not be so good going this way, but if you're really good, you can do that both ways. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Right, you can do one with your brush and you can do one against your brush. There you go. Maybe not the best graded wash in the world. It's watercolors. You can always come back and sheet it a little bit. There you go. So now you've got one that goes that way. You've got one that goes that way. I used to sit. Oh, did I just get that in? I did. I just got that in there. I used to sit and do these for hours at a time. This is how much of a watercolor nerd I am. I would love doing this, and literally I would draw rectangles, little rectangles, big rectangles, rectangles going up that way, rectangles going down that way. And I would paint them this way, and I'd paint them that way, and I'd paint them up, and I'd paint them down, all just to be able to learn how to do those washes, those graded washes like that, because it's such a fundamental thing to what you do in watercolor. If you don't do that, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're not good at watercolor. It doesn't mean diddly. It just means you're not doing that exercise. It's also, don't think that I'm saying, well, you have to do this, because that's just something that worked for me that I had a lot of enjoyment doing. But you really do gain a fantastic understanding of what paint and paper do together when you start to do that exercise. All right, and just dropping on some other colors here. Give me a little bit of this turquoise. I love turquoise. I love the M. Graham turquoise. I want it to be in this painting. One of the reasons why I did this was because I knew I would get to use this M. Graham turquoise. It's such a lovely color. Lovely, beautiful color. And now I've gotten a little overzealous, and I went out of the lines just ever so slightly. Done. Taking care of it. Let's see. Oh, I can paint a little bit on this side too. And I'm just going to go through a number of these blues that I have on my palette. And I'm going to put these on here, right? I can tell you the blues I have. I've got turquoise blue, which I said is one of my favorites. I've got phthalo blue right next to it. Phthalo blue is wonderful, except for everybody hates it. It's wonderful, except it's one of the most hated colors in your palette. But it's difficult to use by itself, but it plays extremely well with others. And you can't say that about every other color out there. So phthalo green on its own is a difficult color. It is garish almost, but But if you trying to see what color, I know somebody put something up there about something. He comes every week and puts something up there, and I'm like, wow, that's great that you're going to do that and waste everybody's time, but whatever. Oh, here's a tide line. There you go. Look, here's a tide line, right? Oop, come on. There's a tide line. I didn't pull that down far enough. It dried. It pushed all the color down there. Now I've got a tide line, right? And I don't want a tide line. Tide lines on feathers probably don't look great. So sometimes you can fix them like that. Sometimes you cannot. Let's see. What else do I need? Where else do I want to go with this? This is still a little damp up here, so I'm going to be a little careful about what colors I use or how much extra water I put on here. I think I want to. I'm trying to do this in some very, very light layers. Trying to do this in light layers. You can get carried away with this very quickly and get very dark very fast, and I prefer not to do that. Maybe. Yeah, you forgot you forgot those guys that come on and just kind of do whatever. I'm like, really? I don't care. It's a bit rude. It's a bit, whatever. I don't think anybody in the history of Twitch has ever followed one of those links, but you know what? You be you, knock yourself out, have at it. All right. And I'm doing this. So I'll say this too. I'm doing this because I want to see these feathers on this bird. I've painted a lot of birds in my time. Many, 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 many birds. And I don't do this on all of them. Some of them I will just, what do I want to say? I will just make some cool watercolory look-ishness stuff. That's technical right there. Watercolory-ishness stuff. And call that good, because I want to see some cool watercolor mixing on the back of the bird. This one, when I look at it, I see all those feathers and I'm like, that's cool. I really want to try to recreate some of these feathers. If I don't put feathers on, then lots of times I'll just put a mark here or a mark there to indicate that there are some feathers without actually painting the feather. So it's a great trick for anybody who's wanting to paint feathers without painting feathers. You don't actually have to paint the feathers. If you don't paint the feathers, nobody knows that you didn't paint the feathers. They just see a line there, and people's brains, who's ever looking at at your painting, their brain will just fill in all of that other information automatically. It's kind of crazy how how that does happen like that. Okay, cool. Got a good start on some of this. I got a great start on some of this. Let's see, what do I want to do here? I want to do a little bit down here. So a lot of the rest of this is going to be, all right, I call it fun. Some people call it fiddly. It's the stuff that makes these interesting and allows you to really develop the depth of this bird. And then at the end, I'm gonna do some stuff on his back that's hopefully gonna make him look even better. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. I've got a number of wet spots here, and I'm a little reluctant to go back at the moment. So I'm gonna come back up to his head, up here, and I'm gonna take some of this black that I've got here. And I'm going to, right, and I said, I said black is black, and black is tough to use, but sometimes black is what you need to use. I'm going to try to put this color underneath here. Cool. And if I can avoid too many straight lines, I'm going to do that. Ooh. All right. All right. Cool. I like that. And you know what I don't like is I've got a bad line in there. I want to just tighten up that line. There we go. That's better. I think that's better. I do like his beak. I like the way his beak looks. It looks a little softer and a little rounder than the reference photo. But notice I've got these big patches of white on it. Right? You got to have white on there or you're not going to have anything on there. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is if you don't have lights, you don't have darks. So I've got to have some of that on there. Let's see. Mary says, okay, I have to go to bed, but I'll watch the video later. Okay, cool. Mary, thank you for stopping by. Very much appreciated. I hope you got something out of it. Good luck in your watercolor journey. Please stop by again. Would love to hear from you again and see how you're doing. Maybe become a regular. That'd be awesome. But sincerely, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for taking part in the stream. I very much enjoyed it. I'm going to carry on then doing some other stuff here and seeing how we can get on with this painting. Let's see. You just painted there. I like his beak. I'm not sure I want to do too much more with that. Maybe I'm going to do just a little bit. It's going to be very light. I should probably even get a smaller brush. This one's very small. Might be too small, but we're going to give it a shot. And this will be with some, not black. No, none of this. I just want to get the right color before I do this. It's going to be just neutral tint. And I just want a little bit of something here. To show the definition of his, this will help break up and show a little bit more definition in his beak here. So a little bit more, but it's got to be very light. Okay, cool. I'm actually happy with that. I don't even know if you guys can see it. I can see it clearly here, but I'm a lot closer to it. So we'll definitely come again. Awesome. Thank you. That makes my day. Let's see, what else can we do here? I'm going to put a little shot of blue on here. Might even be too much on my brush. There we go. All right, all right. Good. What do I want to do? This is still a little wet. I can do a couple more bits on this. Let's see. Light. I don't know if there's a right way to do this or a wrong way to do this, right? Should I start at the uppermost feathers and work from there all the way out, or do I just start at a random feather and go from there? I don't know that it matters too much. As long as you do a little bit on all of them, I think it's probably okay. My concern is that we're just gonna end up with something that looks like 4,000 stacks of something. But that'll give us something to really adjust at the end if if we end up having that issue, that'll give us something fun to worry about at the end of this whole thing. But I think we're going to end up with something that looks pretty cool, and we're not going to have to worry too much about it. Keep looking down here to see what's down here, what's wet down here. I really don't want to put my hand, spend an hour on the painting and then put my hand into something that's a little bit too wet. That probably wouldn't be all that cool. And where I want to be a little bit bolder in the color here, I'll just drop in a little bit more color, and it can be a little darker in one area and a little lighter in another area. That's completely acceptable. Completely acceptable, I think. I'm pretty sure. All right, we got 7, 8 people here now. Somebody say hello. Don't make me talk to myself all night. Come on. Come on, somebody. Talk to me. I'm telling you, if you're just going to leave it to me, I will talk about whatever I want to talk about. I'll try to sprinkle in some watercolor painting, but you never know. Could be there, could not be there. There we go. This is a bigger, bolder feather right there. That looks so good. And I think when you get in some of these differing colors in here too, that it really helps to make it look good. Let's give a couple of big long lines here on these flight feathers up the side right there. I don't necessarily want to paint all of those. That would be a bit tedious. I know I'm going to say that's a bit tedious, as I just did 15 different feathers. Stick with me. Right, the more color you put there, the darker it is, especially right up towards the overlapping feather. The more it's going to look like there's a gap between these two, right? A little bit more shadow in there. So maybe he's got a few feathers that stick up a little bit, and maybe he's got a few that are laying down a little bit. I don't know. Something like that. Who could say? Who can say? Let's see. This is gonna come down like that a little bit. And if you paint over top of a feather that you've painted on before, that's cool. It's not a big deal. That happens. All it does is it adds a little interest to what you got. And sometimes you see a feather that you've painted and you go, ooh, that's probably a little lighter than I wanted it to be. I don't know about that. Well, that's cool. It's not a big deal. It's not a showstopper or anything like that. It's just a whatever it is. All right, that's just a thing that happens. All right, got some color right up around that shoulder. I didn't like that shoulder being just completely bare up there. So I want to make sure we had a little color in there. I want to bring this feather up and around a little bit. All right, y'all are just gonna let me talk away, huh? Okay, I'm gonna do it. So I think what I want to do, I think for the blue on the head, I'm not gonna put too much detail up here. But what I am gonna do is something that I do like to do, and that is I don't know anybody else really who does this other than me, and then that's fine. I like to try to make this a little bit dramatic and put a dark edge on the outside. Sometimes it really helps set things off and make it look interesting. Maybe not always, but there is a chance. But the one thing it really does well is it gives you the opportunity to blend in and set that outside edge and break up that straight line. Oops. So this could have been just a straight line right here, and maybe not all that exciting, right? Visually, you look at it and you go, yeah, okay, it's nice. It's just a straight line there. But once you start getting some color on there, and woo, that's a big pop of color. Once you start getting some color on there, then you can really start to define what that's going to look like and how his head is going to be. And I might need a little bit more of that green coming in there. Match those two areas up. There you can see his head now. His head looks like it's got a lot more going on. It's a little bit more work. It's not much more work. It's a little bit more work, but there's a lot more going on there on his head. Oops, and I don't want to get that too wet, but so we can continue this down here a little bit, right? He's got some feathers that kind of stick out a little bit. Let's really break that up. Cool. I don't want to take this too far at the moment, so I'm going to kind of paint backwards a little bit and stopper that paint up just that little bit and pull that all in. Oh, there we go. And that's beautiful. Looking so good. Looking so good. It's also going to help us determine how thick that inside edge needs to be. And if we want to add to that a little bit, maybe we do. When I say we, I basically mean myself. And we can add to that and darken that up just ever so slightly underneath here. It's all about making the adjustments that you want at this point in time. You want the adjustment there? Cool. Make that adjustment. You don't want that adjustment there? That's cool too. Don't make that adjustment. It's not that big of a deal either way, but it can help guide how you want to finish off your painting. Cool. If it needs a little more color, awesome. Now's a great time to add a little bit more color to it. If you think it's got the right amount of color, we're just going to leave it there. I think just a little bit more in here. Really going to help out. All right, I like that. I like his head. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Got a little bit more work to do down here. Dry yet? Dry yet? Anybody else? Anybody got plans this week? This weekend? Anybody know anything I should be doing this weekend? I kind of want to go to the zoo. Has anybody been to a zoo in a while? We got a little tiny zoo a couple of towns over. It's terrible, but it's fantastic. You know, it's one of those. Doesn't have anything fantastic in it, but it's fun. It's a homey. It's a nice little hometown zoo. As a result, I'm a sucker and I love going to see that little zoo. Natalie's here. Hello, Natalie. Welcome. Been a long time. Hope you're doing well. Hope everything is great. Hope the grandkids are doing well. Hope you're coping with the heat in the desert. You're probably coping with the heat in the desert better than I'm coping with the heat on the coast. I'm not coping well. It's too hot. But in my defense, anything over 70 is too hot. It's gotten to be too hot. I've lost all ability to live in colder weather. I can't do it anymore. So I'm going to drop in a little bit of Payne's Gray here. I happen to know because of some previous experimentation that a little bit of this Payne's Gray will really, or can really, help set this blue off. Where you need a really dark area at. Where we need a really dark area, I'm going to put a little bit of this Payne's Gray in there. And that's going to help darken that whole area up. It's been a while. It's been a busy summer. It's all good. It's all good. Busy summers are good. Busy summers are all good. Let's see, if I can get a little bit more of this color right in here. We're getting away to Pine Top in the White Mountains this weekend, celebrate our 40th anniversary. Wow. It'll only be around 90 degrees there. Oh, yeesh. Only 90. 41 years. Congratulations. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I don't think I'm going to make it to 41. Well, how old would I have to be for my wife and I to make it to 41? I don't even know if I can count that high. We got quite a late start. So 20 years, we'd both be old, quite old. We have a chance. We could get there. I don't know if we will, but we've got a chance. I think we'll both probably give it a try. We were a baby when we got married. I believe it. I believe it. I totally believe it. All right, I'm just throwing a little bit of this Payne's Gray in a couple of these areas just to try to add a little bit more interest in here. I hope I'm not getting a little sloppy with it too. All right, maybe a couple of these feathers on his back are all picked up a little bit. And we've got a little bit more to do in here, but that's okay. We're going to get this done. This will be good. This is going to look good when we're done. This is one I want to hang on my wall at work. I should say, there are a few people that will be happy that I'm not painting an alien or some kind of a bird mashed up with a cement mixer or something like that this week. Everybody I work with, they're all curious. They want to know what I'm painting, and then I tell them, and they're like, "Well, you're painting a what?" Well, but it's not going to be bad. It's going to be good. Nah, are you sure? Thanks a lot. Oh, let's do this one too. This one comes up that way. There we go. Beautiful blues. What blue is your base? So mostly this is a cobalt blue, but it is a total mix of a number of the blues that I have in my palette, right? There's going to be some turquoise in here. There's a little bit of phthalo blue. Let's put that in right now. There's a little bit of, very little bit of ultramarine. I had to think about what it was for a second. There's a very small amount of ultramarine in here, and some cerulean on top, but it's a lot of cobalt, but it's also quite a bit of a mix in here, because I don't want there to be a one color kind of a thing. I want to have the pretense anyways of having some cool movement and some cool different colors in here that your eye, on first glance, maybe you're not going to quite pick up, but on second or third glance at this, you're going to look at it and go, that's kind of neat. I didn't notice that first time around. And so it's a hodgepodge. It's definitely a hodgepodge of different things. Definitely a hodgepodge. And there's no rhyme nor reason of why one color is in one area or another color is in a different area. It's just kind of, I'm going to throw this color on, and let's see what it looks like, and a little faith that it's going to look good. And I think it does at the moment. I think it does. I think there's still opportunity for it to go south a little bit, but we're not going to let it do that. We're going to do everything we can to keep it in check. Let's see. But yes, some beautiful colors in here. When I picked this out to paint, I picked it out specifically because I wanted to do some blues. I feel as though I've been doing a lot of darker colors recently, right? Blacks and browns and darker colors like that. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted a nice, vibrant color, something that I'm going to look at and go, and it's going to pop off the page a little bit. So this blue came to mind. I've painted a blue and gold macaw in the past, and I love the colors. I didn't think I did the bird quite the justice that it deserved, and so I just kind of wanted to do a little bit more with it. And I think we're doing a good job. I really think we're doing a good job with this. It's got a neat look. The question is it going to look overworked? Is it going to look too much? I don't know. We're going to, if that is a possibility. But at the moment, I think we're doing good. And I like, I do, honestly, I like all of these different colors on here. I love when you mix blues. The mixing process, and you can't, it makes it look so cool. You can't do that with all blues. You can't do that with all colors, right? You mix reds, and I don't think you get the same kind of thing out of it. Blues, you get this cool look to it. So I got another one of these right here. Let's take that up a little bit more. Okay, I'm gonna, on this side over here, I'm gonna take my blue and pull it down. Right, I want to give myself this edge. This is a bad way. Okay, that's mostly dry. And not necessarily being careful in here. I'm okay breaking up that edge a little bit. I might need a little bit more color right in here. This is going to look nothing like our reference photo, and I think that's going to be great. I like that blue. I like the strong blue on the outside there. It makes us, to me, it looks like it really makes a big statement, a bold statement. Talk about a bold statement. That's too much paint right there. Boop. Let's see. What else can I talk about? I don't know what I can talk about. I haven't run. Maybe I've run out of things to talk about. How's that possible? That can't be possible. I don't accept that. I can't have run out of things to talk about. I am excited that there is. I know last week was super hot. Not possible. I know, right? Last week was super hot here, but in reality, it got hot in the afternoon. In the morning, at least, especially not at least, but especially this past week, you wake up in the morning and there's a chill in the air. So fall is right around the corner. Fall is not far. And on one hand, I'm like, yes. And on another hand, I'm like, holy cow, how did we get to fall already? It seems like summer was here for a week and a half, and then it went away. And I don't know how that happened, but it seems to have happened. We had our week of summer. Actually, where I live, we don't have a whole lot of summer anyways, right? Our summer, we will oftentimes get a very hot streak in March or April, and then it cools off quite a bit. So that our summers are typically very cool. We don't get, like I said, we're all accustomed to having very cool summers. Even in town, a hot summer will be, I don't know, 78, and everybody hates me now. That's okay. But it just, living this close to the ocean, it doesn't get too hot. So we so we don't always have a lot of hot summer nights or hot summer days anyways. So, okay, cool. That's coming along. I think I think what I need to do is pull some of this color out. I've got too much color right here at the moment. I need to level a little bit of this out. Maybe I should have done this to start with. I don't know, but I love some of these feathers in here. Look fantastic. It's a me thing. Whether they do or they don't, I think they do. Sometimes I look at a painting and I have my expectation of what they're going to look like, and I look at it and I go, "Oh, that looks fantastic." And I know other people look at it and they go, "What? Seriously? What are you thinking? It's fantastic." It's all about that expectation for what you think the painting is going to look like from the beginning. So I love all these feathers. Oh my gosh. We set a new heat record this week, 117. Oh my God, at the airport. My car said 118 when I left to work that day. Oof, couldn't touch your steering wheel. Oh, put a towel over it. Oh my God, Natalie, 118. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I mean, I could, but I couldn't. If you're living there, of course you can do it. And you understand what it's like. It's like everybody in the Midwest. They know what the winters are like. or in the Northeast, they know what the winters are like. You're used to it. You prepare for it. You understand it. You can deal with it. But coming from where I'm at right now, 118, no chance. Not gonna happen. Just not gonna happen. I did used to love, when I lived in the LA area, I used to love going out to golf in Palm Springs. And I'd go out to the Palm Springs Zoo once or twice a year and just up and drive out there. My girlfriend at the time hated it because we'd get there and it'd be 115, 120 degrees, whatever it was. And she was like, there's no way anybody should ever be in heat like this. I'm going back to the hotel. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is great. So there was a time when I used to like some warmer temperatures. But having lived in the area here now for 20 years, no can do. No can do. Just going to see if I can bring out some of these a little bit more with some of this Payne's gray. Just a little bit. I fear that it's going to get too bright. Right? Too bright. Especially with all that cobalt and cerulean, it can do that. A little bit of this Payne's gray might help tone it down a little bit. I'm looking up there. Now that I say it might tone it down, I'm not really sure it's working. No, it's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to look fantastic. When we're done with this, this is going to be wall worthy. This would probably be Etsy worthy, if that's a thing. Is that a thing? Must be a thing. I think I got one thing up on Etsy right now. I need to get more up there. I had a goal to put 2 or 3 up, or 1 up a week or something like that. And I failed to meet the goal. I started doing it and went, I've got 40 other things I need to do. My fault for anybody who was hoping that I'd put something up there. It'll be up there soon-ish, someday. Best I can do. Best I can do. All right, cool. Got some beautiful colors on here. I think what I'm going to do now, well, you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to, hold on one second. While I'm thinking of it. Got a lot of lines. There's a lot of lines in here. Holy cow, there's a lot of lines in here. I'm going to give some additional definition to some of these feathers by putting a little notch here and there in some of them. Right, that should help break up the monotony of what's here. So every now and again, we just put a little notch in there. Dook, 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 dook. And maybe his feathers came apart a little bit as this bird was flying around. If you're going to do some one way, you got to do some the other way. You can't have them only on one side. And if we really want to, we can very light. It's got to be very light. It's got to be very light. And put in the, I don't even know what it's called. Not the root, the stem, the backbone of a few of these. I don't know if that's going to make it better. It's just going to be more lines. More lines. Like I'm some mad movie producer or something. There's more lines. I don't know why that was the first thing that came to my head. Don't pay any attention to that. Oh, you know, before we get too far into this, let me get something smaller. I'm going to let that sit for a second. I'm really going to think about what I'm doing here. All right. And I'm going to paint these solid lines. I'm going to paint some of these lines in here a little bit. Ooh, come on. If these aren't completely solid, that's okay. I think these are little tiny little feathers that would go on here. So this is probably one instance where not having a really sure hand really helps out. Oh, he's got a nostril in here too, doesn't he? I forgot. I gotta get a nostril right there. Let's get a little bit of red in that nostril if we can. Dr. Prashana 2, thank you for sharing this. You're welcome. If you like, I'll tell you what, if you like this, give a like to the video. It helps me out, helps my algorithm out. But more than that, I really appreciate you saying something. Being completely honest, some nights it's tough to sit up here and do this without a whole lot of people talking. Some nights like tonight, I'm more than happy to just talk on my own and carry the show. But anytime anybody says anything, it's very much appreciated. So thank you for saying that, and I'm happy to share. I enjoy doing it. I'm going to be painting anyway, so why not do it with, you know, some of my closest friends, some people I can have a conversation with. There we go. I'm going to put just, yeah, I got to wait. I want to make sure that's really nice and dry there. I don't know. I like the feathers on the back here. I'm not sure I want to do too much more with it. I like the feathers on the back. I'm not quite. I think it did need some of these little lines to help break some of the feathers up a little bit. It gives it a little bit more texture, if that's possible, in here. I think, though, what I want to do is get some more of this Payne's gray, and now I really want to look to see if there are any places I really want to darken this up even more. All right, where can I add even more darkness to this? I just complained that my past paintings have been so dark, but they've been dark with darker colors, browns, blacks, whatever. This is to me, this is a dark blue. This is a better dark. I know they're all dark. They all end up dark, but we got to have a few darks on here. If we don't have some darks, that means our lights aren't going to stand out nearly as much. So we do need to put a few darks on here. And it looks like we had some views go. I haven't been paying attention to the statistics here. It looks like we've had some views. Excuse me for one moment. I hope that muted that. You didn't hear a giant sneeze on my part. It looks like we've had a few people show up. I'm looking at the statistics over there. So everybody who's been here, because we're coming down to the end of this, thank you for showing up. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for helping to make my Wednesday evening enjoyable, or more enjoyable than maybe a normal Wednesday evening would be for me. This is always a highlight of my week. Kay Hazard said, the contrast of colors is fantastic. Miss Madeline approves. Good. I'm glad I got Madeline's approval. Always a good thing to get. Always a good thing. And Madeline might see this one very soon. I think I want to, no, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it like it is. I was going to say, I think I want to make that feather stand out a little bit more. I'm going to start looking around now to see what needs to go back and what needs to come forward, or what do we need to do to start setting off some of these colors. I think a little bit more gray down here is going to help. It's going to help lift those feathers in front just a little bit, and we can do a nice graded wash. And right, that's going to help this come up. It's going to help this feather come up. It's going to push that body of this bird back down that way a little bit. In theory, that's how it works. It should work just like that. There we go. A couple of layers. So this bird has got a couple of, layers, got lots of layers of color on it. It definitely doesn't look flat by any means. I think I do want to bring this down a little bit more, bring this whole thing in just a bit on the side over here. I'm just going to slide in some color here and then blend this in. I want this side of the bird to seem a little bit more solid over here. That's all I'm looking for. This side, yeah, I like that better. That whole thing, I feel should be a little, what's the word I'm looking for? A little more substantial. In order to get that substantialness, I want to add that color into it. It's one way we can do that pretty easily. There we go. All right. We've got I've got some feet to do. What am I doing? I got some feet. Okay, cool. Let's do this. Feet. Feet are kind of color of parrot feet. They're dark. Give me some Payne's gray, some burnt umber, and just a little bit of this alizarin crimson. That's going to be my bird feet color. Suzanne says, love this. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you for that. It's very nice of you to say. We got a foot here just sticking out a little bit on that side. And then on this side, we've got, of course, much more. I'm going to put some color on, and I'm going to draw this out a little bit. I want the base color to be there, but I don't want the entire thing to be covered up with that dark, because I want to be able to come back in and add a little bit more to it, make it seem fuller, substantialer, more fuller, more substantialer. Technical terms. I probably turned everybody off with my command of the English language there. And we've got some claws. I'm going to get a smaller brush. I don't like this. What is this little brush? I'm not wild about this. This is a Princeton Select brush. I'm going to deselect that one. I'm not going to select to use that one anymore. And this is a dark toenail, so I think I can get away with a little bit of this color running together. Yes, or not toenail. Who says toenail? It's not a toenail. It's a talon, right? It's a talon. Birds don't have toenails. At some point, I'll take, I almost said an astronomy class, an anatomy class, bird anatomy. I'll take, well, any kind of anatomy. I'm terrible with all anatomy. There we go. We got a bird toenail there. Yes, I've still got a little white spot there. That's gonna be this our yellow color here. Let's put that on now. I guess it's got a little bit of pantaloons here or something. Not pantaloons. I'm just being silly. It's got some yellow coloring around its leg there. And let's put some color on there. Let's make it a little bright color. Maybe it's not quite as bright as that. I want that to be super bright. I like that. I'm thinking about putting some more color on there even to continue to brighten that up a little bit, but I'm not sure that it would help anything if I did that. And so I'm not sure that I really want to do that. But I'm actually pretty happy with where it's at. I'm actually pretty happy with this. I love the look of the color of it. I like the watercoloriness of it. I got a little carried away over here. If I wanted to go back and clean up a few of these areas, I could do that. I don't think in the long run, maybe I'll just add a little bit to the edge here. I don't think it's going to make, that big of a difference to the entire look of the painting. I think the painting still has this wonderful look and feel to it. I like it very much. Let's see what this does to it. So I'm trying not to put this on so dark that it will necessarily cover up any of the feathers that we have on there currently, but just adds a bit of, like we did on this side over here, makes it feel a little bit more substantial, right? Underneath these feathers, this bird is, I'm sure, tiny and looks weird, but with the feathers, it can flare out and get this big feel and big look to it, and that's what I want to make sure that we've got on there. So I think a little bit more color over there really does help that little bit. I'm just going to muss a little bit of stuff up here. Cool. And I'm not going to do any more. I think I'm going to stop with that. I don't know how long we've been going here. Oh, 2 hours on the dot. Look at that. Let's do a little bit of self-evaluation. I do. Here's my self-evaluation. I do like the stick that it's on. I just spent an hour and 40 minutes painting the bird. Oh, no, I like the stick. That looks great. Now, I like that he's sitting on something. I do like the dimensionality of this bird, right? I like when things have interest to them or about them. And so for me, when I look at a painting like this, I'm not nearly as concerned about the painting being, right, whatever that is. I don't have any idea what that is. I'm worried about the painting having interest, and all of these different layers, all of these different feathers. I just extended these feathers up a little bit so it didn't just stop right away. sometimes it looks a little funny if you've got a feather and the line between one feather and the next just stops like burp. So if you extend that line a little bit, sometimes you get a little cleaner look to your painting. I love this. Where's my pointer? I love this. Right? These are up. These feathers are up at an angle a little bit. There's space between these and that. There's space between this and that down there, right? This wing comes down. It's clearly below this wing. These flight feathers, clearly different. You can tell in the colors. And then the tail continues down here. And it's so dark down here that it's way below these flight feathers. It gives it great dimensionality. I love that. And look at the beak up here. I like the beak, right? Light to dark to light to dark to light to dark. You can see it right across there. And because you can see it clearly across there, it has some motion, has some life to it. I like the green on the top of his head. I love how we have the dark up here. I think his head looks great. Maybe we could intensify some of the yellow up here. Yellow's a tough color. I like that it's warmer and cooler and warmer again. Sometimes that's the best you can do, or the best I can do anyways, with some of the yellows. But this blue in the body of it, you're not even going to notice that. You're not going to notice that. Anybody who looks at this painting, they're just going to see all of that beautiful blue down the back of this. And for that, I love it. I'm going to sign it right there. And I am going to call this one done. I do want to say thank you to everybody who has joined me. Susan said, love this. Dwayne says, this was awesome. Another fine painting. Thanks, Michael. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you for coming. Thank you for contributing. Kay Hazards, Dr. Prashna, Dr. Prashna, Natalie, Coco. Oh, God, I'm going to forget somebody. I hope not. Miri over on Twitch. Anybody else who watches in replay, thank you for joining. Thank you for making my Wednesday evening enjoyable. I hope you had a good time. I know I had a good time. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I hope you're able to join me back here again next time when we do something else equally as exciting. Until then, thank you so much. Bye-bye.